Hello, this is a very quick instruction video on how to download, compile and use LayNii on macOS. And there is an instruction website, namely layfmi.com/laynii-setup. And there are many different cases explained. For example, how to install LayNii using precompiled binaries, or also how to compile it on your own on macOS, and later further down is Linux and Windows too, if you want. So now we are interested in downloading and compiling it, and there are 4 different steps involved. And the first step is to download the source code, and you can do so, for example, on GitHub by going to the release page of layfmi/LayNii, and there you see that the latest release is the 2.0. And here we have all the different codes available, for example, precompiled codes for the different operating systems. We are interested in the source code now. So this is the one we are downloading, and this takes a short second. And then we have in our downloads folder a zip file that we can unzip, which we're going to do right now. And within this folder, there is all the source code in the SCR, and there are also test data. These test data are different kind of layer files, structural and functional data that you can play around with. So now let's compile it. Let's go to this folder that we just downloaded, namely downloads LayNii, and then let's compile it with make all. In order to be able to compile it, you need to have a C++ compiler installed, which is rather straightforward. You can do this with Homebrew. If you don't want to compile it on your own, you can also download the precompiled binaries there. Right, there are about maybe 20 to 30 LayNii programs which are being compiled right now. If you compile it on your own, the easy thing on Mac is that you don't have any kind of permission issues. Namely, since Catalina, when you download software that does not come from the App Store, you need to allow it explicitly in your security settings. If you compile it on your own, you don't have this problem anymore. However, then you have the dependency on the C++ compiler. So we are almost done now, I believe, which means that we have all these different programs, the binary files, and if we type in ls, we see them in the folder right there. So let's try and see if we can execute it. For example, by using the right path, namely within this very folder, let's execute any program, let's say ln2 profiles. Then you see we are not getting an error message, but we're getting a help function on how to execute this program, what this program does, and so on. So for example, let's execute it with some input files. So let's go to the test folder with the test data, and now using one of those already prepared path execution lines, and see what happens. So now we are using a profile program that loads in a data set and then plots a profile. It writes the profile out in a text file and also gives you a little preview with ASCII art. It also tells you which version of LayNii you're using, and also some basic information about the nifty. Now the important part here is that we executed the binary by giving it a path. So for example, if we execute it like this, it does not find it, right? Usually when you want to execute software, you want to execute it from anywhere in the system. And we can make this possible by setting paths, for example, in your profile. And by profile, I mean this specific file. We tested it already. Right there. Profile, for example, a file in your home directory that's called bash profile. In other systems, it might be just dash profile, depending on how it's set up. We can edit this file, for example, by typing it open ~dot bash profile. And there we go. And there are all kind of paths set already from other programs you might use. This might look different for you. And now we want to include the path where we have all the binaries. Namely, we want to copy this line and paste it right there. Of course, we need to change the path. So let's see where our binaries actually are. I think I made a wrong turn there. This is where the binaries were, and in PW this is our path, so let's copy this one and put it right in there. Let's save it. You can, by the way, store them anywhere. Usually you don't want to store them in your downloads folder, and this is just now for convenience. So now we saved the bash profile with the path, and so if we, for example, open a new bash, then we should be able to execute any LayNii program from anywhere. For example, now if we go into test data and execute ln2 profiles, it knows where to find it from because we set the path. And we don't need to have the // anymore. If you have issues installing it, you can always go to the GitHub page. Namely, there's an issue page, and if you have trouble, just open up a new issue and somebody will help you. And that's it. Thank you very much.